Okay, alright. Thanks for coming back if y'all are returning from the last video I made. So, last video I was giving a bare bones description of the ships, what stats to look for, what you can do to have a workable setup for a boat to get out and start making doubloons. Sort of lots of descriptions that I gave, recommended outfitting. You get privateer, whatever crew you can get your hands on, etc., etc., right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what you should actually do to get ready to go out on the ocean, and then we're going to launch the ship. I'm going to show you some of the menus, and if this isn't too long, then I may even do a boarding and just kind of show you what the whole process looks like. Depends on how long the video goes. So, alright, so here's the Dockmaster. I'm in Cambria right now. This is at the top here, this is the large dragon ship that I had shown in the last video. So you can access your ships that you place a Dockmaster deed on from any public or private Dockmaster that you have access to. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you. I'm actually going to go to Shelter Island because I do not want to have a a ship deed in my pack. So, long story short, with the whole ship deeds, right? A ship deed it's not blessed, but to my knowledge, it can't be stolen from your bag. But if you are PK'd, it can be taken from your body. So, rule of thumb: do not have a ship deed in your bag unless you are in your house and safe with a private Dockmaster, or you are at Shelter Island where that type of thing is not allowed. So I say that because I'm going to take this ship deed off of the Dockmaster so I can show you what it is you need to do to install it, right? So I've arrived at Shelter Island, right? The public Dockmaster, probably the first public Dockmaster you're going to interact with, as most people do. So this is what the ship deed looks like. You may have seen that from the last video. So what I did was I installed some crew and upgrades. Your ship deed does not have to be on a Dockmaster in order to install upgrades or crew. What I have done is I have installed the privateer outfitting that I recommended you do, and hold fast, and I just put a regular ability in here, toxic ammo, and then a greater ability, brimstone. So the reason I chose these abilities is not because these are the best ones you need to start with. It's because these are actually some of the cheapest things you will find on the market right now. And I want to show you that this is something that you can actually work with. This is super, super bare bones. You're not going to be optimized doing anything with this, but I'm going to show you what you kind of can do with this if you are literally just starting to do this and you just kind of want to get your feet out there, get your toes wet and do something and start enjoying the content, right? So first I'm going to show you how to install upgrades, right? So I'm going to take this off, right, the outfitting. All the upgrades and crews can be installed the same way. You go to the menu that you get through the ship deed or that you get through the Dockmaster, and you select your tab. So the overview, crew, upgrades, appearance, and stats, right? So crew and upgrades are going to have these sections where you can install self-explanatory, the crew, which I've done here. And it's the same way that you install any of these upgrades, which would be the outfitting, special item crew, all these abilities, etc., etc., right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Dockmaster. I'm going to left click, and then after this world save, go ahead and click Add Ship Deed to Dock. Click on the ship deed that is in my bag. It will install the ship on the Dockmaster. Now, if memory serves, if you have not paid the registration fee for the ship, you won't be able to install the ship on the Dockmaster until you do that. So the registration fee on this ship is already paid, so we don't need to worry about that. Alright, so we install the ship on the Dockmaster. I want to put this outfitting on. So I'm going to go to upgrades, outfitting. Go ahead and click on this. it's going to bring up this menu. It's going to show me all the bonuses. It's going to show me the base cost, which we talked about last time, and then the multiplier. So I pay 15,000 doubloons to install this outfitting on the ship, right? So I went ahead and installed that. Cool. All right, so before we launch our ship and start fiddling around, a few things you need to get ready to do. So here's my grab bag, meaning these are the supplies you're going to want to take with you when you go out there, right? You are going to want ship repair kits, some boarding rope, cannon shot, you need a spyglass, and these are not 100% must, but I highly recommend you get some. Ship bombs, specifically large ship bombs. The small ones, in my opinion, are not really worth it. It's better to just get the large ones and be done with it and have confidence that you're going to do enough damage, right? So these are pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, the repair kits are for repairing your boat. The boarding ropes are to go from your boat to another, to go ahead and take over that ship, kill the crew, and loot the ship. Cannon shot, self-explanatory, that's how you reduce their HP, and then large ship bombs to finish them off. That's usually used when they still have a bunch of hull points left and you need to sink the boat after you've sweep the deck, right? The skinning knife is not a must, it's just I have a macro on my keyboard that I use to automatically skin bodies around me, and that's the way that I choose to open up all the gumps to loot, and I set a loot bag and all that good stuff, so that's why I have a skinning knife. Spyglass, you don't have to have an agapite spyglass. Obviously, you can have whatever works for you. I'm going to recommend you have something that's at least close to there. So the reason I say that is it's going to increase the distance that you can see other players and NPC boats from, right? So yeah, as far as supplies, this is what you're going to want. You're going to want to always take your ship repair kits, boarding ropes, cannonballs, and ship bombs. I try to go by the rule of fives when I'm first starting off. So rule of fives, not really a rule, just kind of made that up. But 5 ship bombs, 50 repair kits, 50 boarding ropes, and 500 cannon shot. That's just kind of how I choose to make it easy for myself. I usually run more than that if I'm going to do a long farming session. Completely up to you. See where you're comfortable when you start farming. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and launch. I'm going to actually go on this other side and do this so I can launch over here, simply because I like this side better for no particular reason whatsoever. Okay, so like you saw me do, I left clicked on the Dockmaster, I clicked launch, and it gave me that little targeting thing on my cursor. I targeted the water and it went ahead and launched my ship. And then it's going to open this menu. This is going to be access for all of your commands for the ship. You do not have to have this open, right? So all of these commands can be mapped to hotkeys, or what you can do is you click right here, open ship hotbars, right? You're going to get one that has the status of all your crew. Our crew are not currently on the deck, so everything's going to be gray. Let's hit ready crew. Oh, whoops, sorry. I need to actually embark first, so we're going to embark. Ready crew. Right, you see they all go blue, and it'll show the status of their HP and all that good stuff. I usually close that out. I will go ahead and collect their health bars this way, and I usually just stick them over in the corner here. Okay, so here's this. I like to put these hot bars kind of in this position. You can do it every way you want. I'm going to kind of explain what these things do. First thing I do is like I just did, ready the crew, get the crew up on the deck. Hit this button. If you have 0 cannon shot, but you have some in your bag or in the hold, then the ship will automatically try to reload. And that's what just happened. So you want to bring the crew up, you want to reload the cannons. Fun fact, you can actually take your fun little grab bag and I would keep the ship bombs on yourself so you can place them when you're on the other ship, but you can keep the grab bag with the cannon shot, the rope, and the ship repair kits, in the hold, and you can actually use them from the hold of the ship. You don't have to have them on your person. That can help or hinder you. It's really up to you how you want to do it. I usually just keep them on my person because, frankly, I know that I can do this, but I always forget that I can, so I just keep it on my person. So it will reload your cannons and all that good stuff from the hold. So I'm just going to do that for now. Okay, so let's get out here. So I'm going to give you some directional orientation here. Alright, so I'm sitting in the little bay, and the way I want you to think of this, I'm going to put the gump right here. This up arrow right here is forward, and then the one below that is back. Obviously, seems kind of self-explanatory. However, you've got the forward right and the forward left and the back right and the back left. That is what's called strafing, right? So if you look at your stats on your ship, you see forward speed and strafe speed. Strafing is the diagonal thing that you do like this, right? Whoops, not like that. Like that. Like that and like that. That's strafing, right? This is forward and backward movement, side to side movement, right? So there's different speeds that apply to each of these. The way I want you to think of the directional movement is this top arrow is always the literal front of your ship. A lot of people struggle with the turning and then continuing to go forward. Not totally sure why that is. I just know that some people struggle with it. You'll get the hang of this after a while. Yeah, so that's kind of your directional orientation. Again, you can map all these keys to whether it's WASD. They literally just did an update on the client where you can do better mapping. I haven't really looked at it yet. The reason I'm showing you how to use these gumps is because I am a huge proponent of know how to use the system the way it was first intended to be used before you start mapping things to your keyboard, so that you have an intuitive understanding of the system before you start using scripts, before you start, kind of complicating things. I'll give you a great example. When our guild does omnibosses, we always get that one dude who uses a JSON script who does an automatic area taunt, and if you don't know, if you do an area taunt in an omniboss, it will trigger a special ability from the mobs that will basically wipe the entire group. And people don't know that they're doing it because they just run a script, so they're not aware of how certain mechanics in the game affect the environment around them. So that's just an example of why I think it's important that you should know how things work as they were intended before you start making changes, right? So that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay, let's see. So let's go through this other gump. This is your abilities gump. Excuse me. It's going to have at the top your lesser, your regular, and your greater ability, and then at the bottom one, that's the auxiliary ability. If I had multiple abilities installed in each of these slots, there would be a little arrow where I could cycle to the secondary one that's on that. I don't have that right now, but that's what would show up if you had a second ability. Here you can look through different commands. So let me bring up these are all attached to different buttons that are on the main ship menu, right? The main ones I use when I am using this gump, I will use this, which is crew attack, and then 2 over is the reload. Because sometimes I will reload before my cannons are at 0. For example, when I use the swift reload ability, I'll hit reload, hit swift reload, and it'll automatically resolve that reload. And sometimes I do it in the middle of uses of cannon shot. So that's why I would use that. On the bottom right here, you have a little diamond that you can click to go ahead and bring up the menu for repair. It will bring up the health bars for your ship. You can choose to repair hull, sails, or guns, right? It'll show your percentage and all that good stuff. As you can see here, you're also going to have a health bar that's right above your head, so that's your visual indicator for that. Okay, so another thing I'm going to show you how to use as originally made or intended, the spyglass. So here's my spyglass. How you use this is you double click the spyglass and then you target yourself or your health bar, right? It's going to bring up this gump. This gump will show you the NPC range, the range at which you can detect NPC ships, and then the range at which you can detect player ships. You're going to be able to swap from ships or fishing spots. We're going to use ships in this case. Now we have this gump. You see the yellow here, these are all NPC non-hostile ships. Think of them as like civilian ships, right? They are not going to immediately attack you if you get close to them. The red, this large drow ship, is a hostile ship that if you get close to it, it will engage you like a regular hostile mob in the wilderness or in dungeons. So that's sort of how they behave, right? And that's how they're separated on the spyglass. Now I have this spyglass mapped to a hotkey on my keyboard, so I could just use the hotkey and then bring it up. And this is really important, and you're going to find out why this is really important very early on. Because there are people all over the place out on the ocean, and they will be trying to sink you, and you want to keep your head on a swivel, so you constantly want to have a hotkey or a script running, but at least a hotkey to automatically use a spyglass that's in your bag, so you can look around you and see if anybody's there, and then you decide what your course of action is from there. So next thing is we're going to go find something that we can go ahead and use as an example of how you should attack a ship and board it, and how you do the boarding and all that good stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to use my spyglass, and I see that there's a medium fishing ship to the east. I don't really want to go after a fishing ship right now. Pick our target here. I want to do a civilian ship so that I can kind of pull up next to it and explain a few things before I do anything else. So I'm going to go up behind here. Now I'm crossing my fingers right now that the GG Guild has not decided to sweep Shelter Bay as they did the other day, or so I heard. So we'll see if we'll be able to do this uninterrupted. Okay, so what you saw me just do is I brought the gump up, right? I saw this medium explorer ship, which is what I've decided I want to go for. You have two options that you can click on here. You've got the little spyglass thing, which will create this arrow, which will point directly to this ship's location. This does not act like tracking does. So tracking on land, if you don't know, will constantly update the location of whoever it is you're tracking based on the settings of your tracking. This does not update constant location. This will just give you the last indication when you click that little spyglass thingy. The other option here is the little map. You click the map, it will show you on the overworld map where the other ship is, or the fishing spot or whatever is in relation to you. So we are number 1, and then there's a line drawn between us and number 2, which is where that ship is. So we're going to go over there. Okay. And world save. Alright. So when we are going to engage in combat with a ship, what I typically do is I will do crew attack first. Reason being, I want to get the crew of the other ship to aggro and attack my crew first instead of attacking me directly. I want to get as much aggro on my crew as possible so that I am not focused down. It's just like safety for yourself. Makes sense to me. I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory to you. So what am I looking to do, or where do I have to go from here, right? So you see that each ship has 3 health bars, hull, sails, and guns. You want to get sails or guns. It doesn't have to be both. Ideally it's both because you have a better chance to board, but you want to get at least 1 to 33%, and then you will have a chance to board the ship, to attempt to board the ship. The lower the HP is on those, the higher the chance you have to board. I typically, and I'm going to explain this gump now too, you see targeting mode, you can target with accuracy, which I believe gives a 10% base boost to accuracy, and it will target each section of the ship equally, has a chance to target each section of the ship equally, and it gives you a boost to accuracy. You can target the hull specifically, the sails specifically, the guns, or the crew. I almost never use crew. It's just not, it just doesn't do enough damage to be worth it. It's just not something I notice is really effective. There are some abilities like Grape Shot that you may be able to use to do something like that or make it worthwhile, but that's an ability that not many people really run in any case. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select accuracy first, and what you want to do is you want to approach attacking a ship in a way that gives you the best advantage, right? So you don't want to just run up and just immediately attack and just duke it out, right? Now you can do that if you've got, you know, enough cannon damage, if you've got enough, you know, cannon damage links, you know, if you can kill their crew quickly, if it's a really small ship like this. But if you're if you don't have a lot of abilities or upgrades, or this is a large ship, you're gonna have to be a little more tactful. Now, here's where understanding your abilities comes in handy. Hold fast will give you a reduction in ship damage taken and a reduction for crew member damage taken for 30 seconds. Toxic ammo does something similar. It will do damage to all locations. You know, it'll poison everybody, etc., etc. But the big kicker is it reduces damage dealt by all targets by 10% for 30 seconds. So these are ways to mitigate the damage done by the ship to your ship and to your crew. That's going to be important early on when you're first getting into this. You want your crew to survive, because you're not going to have a whole lot of links. You're not going to have a lot of progression on your aspect. So you're going to want to divert as much damage away from your person and from your ship as much as possible and kind of mitigate that damage. Here's the other ability that I chose. Again, these are just abilities that I just scooped up because these are very cost-effective abilities. They're not the best, but there's ways that you can use them that if you do it right, it can work out for you. You don't always have to run meta stuff. There's a reason other abilities besides the meta exists, and you can be creative with how you use it, right? So basically what Brimstone does is, yeah, it does a bunch of damage, but it leaves patches of fire underneath the ship, which will then continue to damage the hull over time. So when you're doing PVM farming, it can be really helpful because it's kind of like a damage multiplier. It doesn't just do damage on impact, it'll do more damage over time. So you get a little bit more bang for your buck. It's not going to be anything you're probably going to use in PvP, because you're almost always moving around in PvP unless you've managed to pin you know, the opposing ship to where they can't move, and then you can use an ability like that to do overtime damage to their hull. That's more situational. Can you do that? Yes, but chances are you're not going to get a chance to do that as often as you might like. That being said, when you first attack a ship, I'm going to recommend that you have a couple of tiles between you and that ship. They will sometimes move closer to you. Just move a couple tiles out. The reason I say that is what I just mentioned, getting pinned up against a ship. So if you are right up against the side of a ship and somebody rolls up on you, they can put themselves over one side or the other and pin you to the side of the ship to where you can't get your cannons on them, and you won't be able to do anything. So you want to keep a little distance between you and this ship so you can wiggle out of this little area if you need to and try to make your escape. That's something I learned to do very early on the hard way. So I'm telling you here now so that you don't make the same mistakes I did. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Well, first let's do our spyglass. I want to see who's around. Alright, no players. If a player is around, they will show up gray, and it will not be a specific ship name. It will just say galleon or large dragon ship or whatever the ship type is. If they're friendly to you, they'll show up as a green ship, right? But player ships will show up as gray. The ocean is considered a lawless zone. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do crew attack, get some aggro on my crew. Right, let them attack. Now it lights fuses, right? So these NPC ships do a grenade thing. Right, so I'm going to grab their health bars. I'm going to go ahead and attack. And then I'm going to use toxic ammo to get some damage on them and get some damage on their hull. It's going to reduce the damage that they are doing. Do a little bit of repair on my own. Right, I'm going to repair my sails. Now, why did I repair my sails versus anything else? It's because right now I don't have a ton of damage on my hull. I'm not worried about sinking. But if somebody rolls up on me, I need speed to get away. So I'll repair my sails first. Alright, so I'm going to use brimstone. And see, it does damage, but it also puts the patches underneath them. Patches of fire underneath them. And then we're just going to keep firing, and you just, click the little diamonds and then select your target, and etc, etc. So I'm not doing a ton of damage. You wouldn't expect to be doing a ton of damage right now, because I really don't have very many upgrades. So this is sort of par for the course. But you see that brimstone is doing some damage over time, and that's kind of helping us a little bit. So I am going to spin around, because these, if you may have noticed, the ammo for each side is the number is specific to each side of your ship. So I like to fire a bunch of volleys, and then I do my little spin, and then I'll bring my guns to bear from the opposite side and continue firing before I have to reload. Now I'm focused firing on guns. I've been doing that for a little bit because I want to try and get the HP down as much as I can so I can board sooner rather than later. My crew's HP is starting to go down. I don't like that. And then I should get, yeah, there we go. So I got a chance to board now. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and wait for it to say cannons can be reloaded. Go ahead, reload. I'm going to hit hold fast, and I may not succeed here. Yeah, so see 20, it'll give you a prompt. It'll say I had X amount of chance to success. Did you succeed? Yes or no, right? And I like to hit hold fast when usually when I roll up, and then also when I start to have chances to board, because any damage I'm going to take in the middle of the process, I want to try and mitigate. Now I'm actually taking a lot of damage right now on my hull, so I don't like that very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back off. Now he's lighting the dang fuse. That's not cool. So I'm actually going to go this way because he's probably going to sink me if I'm dumb about this. Alright, let me do spin spin, and here in a few seconds I should be able to repair. Oh, that's not good. That was a terrible idea. Oh shit. This may turn into a terrible video. Should have repair any second now. 9 seconds. Yeah, next time remind me to not go after a civilian ship because they have grenades. Grenades are no bueno. Repairing the hull. Alright, so my toxic ammo is up again. I just saw him up there. Go ahead and use toxic ammo. I'm going to back off. Alright, now I'm going to see if I can go ahead and hold fast and board. Alright, cool. So that was risque. Let's not do that again. So I went ahead and boarded. Alright, so after you kill the crew, you want to immediately get your crew and recall them back onto your ship. Why? Because if your crew is not on board your ship at any point, if you have an empty deck, then somebody can just come up and board your ship, like immediately. You can't do anything about it. You can go back, you can embark on your ship and you'll have to fight them, otherwise you can't really do anything. Alright, so we killed the crew, we're here to loot the ship. The hold will unlock, if you didn't notice. It will unlock once you kill the crew. So then you can go ahead and loot the hold. Take all the stuff and things. I should really have double clicked the loot on here, but I do not. Right, and then I'm going to go ahead and loot the bodies. I'm going to actually set a loot bag so I could just click on this and not have to worry about disorganization. Alright, let's get a couple more bodies here. And keep your spyglass running, right? I should be doing this more often than I am right now, but I'm focusing on recording this and not really on that like I should be. So, alright, so you loot everything, and then I look at the HP. Oh, I've got 740. Can I take that down with my guns? Yes, but I want to show you how to use ship bombs. So you go ahead and go to your ship bomb, double click, it places the ship bomb. I would back off a few tiles, right? Especially if it's a small one, then if it's a small one, you can get caught in the blast. It does about 1,000 damage, but there you go. See, so it blows up and it sinks the ship. You see the prompt in the bottom left hand corner. It says you received X amount of doubloons for sinking a ship. They've been placed in your ship's hold. So then you can go to your ship's hold. You will see the doubloons have been placed in your hold. And then you can go to your menu and it'll tell you how many doubloons are in your hold. It'll tell you if you have any salvage or crew contracts. Now, you could go around and mow down a bunch of ships without boarding them, but the reason you want to board is not just to loot the crew, but when you loot the hold, you have a chance to get ship upgrades and crew contracts. 9 times out of 10, you want to be looting the ship's hold so you have a chance to get that. That's the main reason you're going to be out here. Those are the things you're going to be worth a lot of gold, more so than what you're going to be farming, right? So as I go, I'll just go ahead and repair my hull, repair everything on my way back. And now I am going to be on my way to go ahead and dock and reap the reward of my outing real quick. And as you can see, I've got my spyglass going the whole time, looking for people. If I see somebody, then I'll have to decide what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to run or fight. I'm not going to fight in this ship because I've basically got no upgrades on it, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to stand up to anything on this boat. But the whole purpose of that is to show that you can get out there and go ahead and sink something and make a little bit of cash, and you don't have to be like super decked out to do it. And if I was like a little more like deliberate about what I was doing, and I wasn't doing multiple things at once, it would go smoother. I wouldn't almost get sunk by an NPC ship. So yeah, it's not gonna be terrible. So okay, next thing. So I'm up next to the dock. I like to repair before I put my ship in the dockmaster. You don't have to. Just know that your ship does not repair itself when you place it on the dockmaster. When you launch it next, you're going to have to finish repairing it. Okay, so you're going to want to, or at least I do, put all of these items. I usually have a grab bag, right, with everything that I looted that goes directly to that grab bag. And put that and the gold and doubloons you collected in the hold. Reason being is you are going to use a function on the dockmaster to use a shipping crate. Now, in order to use a shipping crate, you have to have a in-room, or you have to have a house with, you don't have to have a shipping crate warp tile, but you basically have to have a house, right? And what you do is you click this, and it will send a shipping crate with everything that was in your hold, either to your in-room or it will send a shipping crate to the banned location outside of your house. If you have a shipping crate warp tile, it will go to wherever that warp tile is inside your house. This is a secure way to transfer your loot, so if you dock this normally without doing any shipping crate, it will dump all the loot that was in the hold out on the ground for anybody to grab. Obviously, for obvious reasons, you don't want to do that, so you want to use your shipping crate. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It gave me the prompt saying I paid 250 gold to send all this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and finish repairing. And I ran out of repair kits, which is fine. Go ahead, dock the ship. And now I'm going to go back to my house, which is where my shipping crate warp tile is. And there is my shipping crate with all the stuff in it. And as you can see, it's heavy too, right? So you don't want to, it's more than likely it's going to be way heavier than something you could just drag around. So you're not going to be holding all this gold on you. So this was just, literally one ship. And if I were to be, like I said, more deliberate about it, I could scoop up 4,000 doubloons, which is roughly 3,500 gold worth, and 1,500 gold off the creatures. So that was, that's roughly like 6,000 gold that you can get in like a few minutes, like less than 5, like 2-3 minutes or something like that. And that's just the medium ship, and we were just kind of messing around, right? So that's pretty good, especially when you're first starting out. Other like when you start farming serious ships, like larger ships, and you've got you got fortune aspect, and you've got upgrades on your ship that give doubloons and stuff like that. You're going to sink one ship and you're going to get close to 20,000 doubloons plus gold. So this is extremely lucrative, right? So then I'll just take all this stuff, I'll drop it in my little bank thing I have here. It makes it go straight to the bank. And wallet out of there, and then I just take that and put it in the trash can, right? Okay, so that is, basically how you can bare bones earn a little bit of doubloons and gold with the cheapest upgrades you can get for the most part, and just being like really casual about how you play. It doesn't have to be this grandiose operation where you have to buy millions of gold worth of upgrades and whatnot to be able to get out there and do stuff. Just know what you're using. Look for abilities in the beginning that mitigate damage, that will do damage to the other ship, but also help your survivability, because you're not going to be very survivable at first, as was, you noticed by my ship HP going down so far, redlining basically. Yeah, so I hope that answered a bunch of questions. Shoot me some questions on Discord, or throw them in the comments or something like that, and I'll try and see if I can answer what I can. I'm happy to help. So thanks for taking a look, and I hope you guys enjoy yourselves.